This is a crime scene investigation of the passive voice in English. Here's a copy of the Local Times, our local newspaper. Let's take a look at some of the articles. It looks like there was a bank robbery at the First National Bank. $1 million was stolen. Police were called to the First National Bank yesterday. The bank was robbed at 12:15 p.m. $1 million was stolen. No customers were hurt, but one robber was shot by police. This is a picture of the crime scene. The bank robbers have not been found. Many clues were left at the bank. No bank customers were hurt. Several customers were interviewed about the robbery. 17 customers were in the bank at the time of the robbery. They followed the instructions of the robbers and dropped to the ground. No customers were hurt in the robbery. One robber was shot by a police officer when he tried to leave the bank. The robber was hit by one bullet, but he escaped with the other robbers. They drove away in a white truck. Some of the customers were interviewed on TV about the robbery. They were happy to be alive after this terrible experience. This is a quote from one of the customers. "When the robber was shot, I screamed." Clues are being investigated. Fingerprints were found at the bank. Many clues were left at the bank. The most important clues are fingerprints of the robbers. The fingerprints were found on the desk, on the doors, and on the guns. 2 guns were left at the bank as the robbers escaped in a car. One robber was shot, and the blood he left on the floor is another important clue. The fingerprints and the blood are being studied by police investigators. The robbers were caught on video. The robbery was filmed by security cameras. The robbers were filmed by the bank's cameras, but they have not been identified yet. The video is being analyzed by the police. Call the police if you have any information. Now let's take a look at some of the grammar from this newspaper. The newspaper uses a lot of passive voice. Passive voice is used when the subject is unknown or not important. Here's an example. The bank was robbed. We don't know who did it. Many clues were found. It's not important who found them. The focus is on the object. The object in the first sentence is the bank. The object in the second sentence are the clues. Let's look at how to make the passive voice. We make passive voice by moving the object to the beginning of the sentence and deleting the subject. We can add the subject to the end of the sentence and use the word by. And the second thing we do is change the verb. We add a form of be in front of it, and we use the past participle of the verb from the sentence. Here's an example. The robbers robbed the bank. That's an active sentence, not a passive voice sentence. The robbers did the action. To make passive voice, we move the bank to the beginning of the sentence. The bank was robbed. We add a form of be, that's was. Was is the past simple form of be. This is an action that happened in the past. The bank was robbed. Robbed is the past participle of the verb rob. The bank was robbed is the passive form of the sentence, the robbers robbed the bank. We could say the bank was robbed by robbers, but we know they must be robbers because they robbed the bank, so that's not really necessary. Remember, the be verb should be in the tense you want the sentence to be in. If you're talking about the past, use a past tense form of be. That's was or were. If the sentence is about the present tense, use a present tense form of the verb be. That's am, is, or are. In these examples, be is in past simple, so the sentences are passive voiced, past simple. That's because the robbery was in the past. Here's another example. Someone found fingerprints. That's an active sentence. Someone is the subject. Someone did the action. Fingerprints is the object. We can make it passive by moving the fingerprints to the beginning of the sentence. Fingerprints were found. We also have to add a form of be. That's were. We use were because it's past simple and because fingerprints is plural, so we don't use was. Fingerprints were found. Found is the past participle of the verb find. Fingerprints were found. That's the passive voice form of this sentence. Now let's read the newspaper again and we'll find the passive voice sentences. Find the passive voice. Now find the passive voice here. Find the passive voice sentences. Find the passive voice sentences. Find the passive voice sentences. Now let's do some more practice. How do we make a passive voice sentence? First, bring the object to the beginning of the sentence and delete the subject. Then change the verb. Add a form of be in the front of the verb and use the past participle of the verb. What are the past simple forms of the verb be? Let's look at some more sentences. Complete each sentence with a passive voice. Here are the answers. These are all in past simple. You can see was or were. Here are some more sentences. Complete each sentence with a passive voice. Here are the answers. These sentences are also all in the past simple. You can see was and were. Here are some links for some more practice. These are passive voiced, past simple, and present simple exercises. And that's it for our crime scene investigation.